friends of the flower shop. So we have some fun tutorial videos coming at you for anybody that has purchased a Bear Creek bouquet. So my name is Katie, and I'm going to show you how to design this week's bouquet in things that you have around your house. So I'm going to use this container, which it's kind of a, let's see, it's 4 inches by 6, but basically it's just like a 4-inch round, and then you've got some kind of lip out on the side. And then a little guy, that's about, we're gonna call that 3 inches, just 3 inches and a little less. So this is just some ideas on what you can do with the bouquet that you get this week. And every week we're gonna do a different video with a different set of flowers with a different person presenting. So it'll be a lot of fun. So this week the Bear Creek bouquet has lots of really pretty greens and whites and some hints of yellow. We've got some green Lysianthus, we've got some white Lysianthus and some Star of Bethlehem and a few carnations, some waxflower, and I can never remember the name of these guys. Maybe it's like Brasilia berry, not sure. There's some homework for you to look those up, see what they are. So I'm going to start out with the largest container, and then with what's left over, put the rest of it in a smaller one, just so you can kind of sprinkle it around your house. You can put one in your bathroom and have one that you just kind of carry throughout your house with you throughout the day. Why not? Might as well have flowers with us all the time. So in addition to the flowers from our Bear Creek bouquet, there we go. I like to kind of divide them up into what they are. Makes it a little bit easier to figure out what you want to do with them, I think. So I've cut some Nandina from my backyard just to give it a little more like wisp and a little bit of privet. So you can go check out what's in your backyard and see what is available. And so this is privet. Sometimes it has like a little black berry on it in the winter, and this is Nandina. So that's what I found. You don't have to use it, but also don't clip anything that's not yours unless you ask permission. If you get it from your neighbor, socially distance, ask them if you can have it. So I like to start out with some greens just for the base of the arrangement. One thing you want to make sure you're doing is taking any leaf or foliage off of the bottom of the stem. You don't want anything in the water. It'll just help preserve the life of the flowers a little bit longer. And I'm going to design this bouquet in kind of like an asymmetrical, they'll be a little bit high here, they'll kind of swoop down to this side, and so you can kind of think of like a loose triangle. But I think the greenery always kind of adds like a nice foundation for the way it's going to go. So I'm just making sure my stems are free of foliage before they go in. And so next, I think we will start putting some flowers in it. Let's start out with the white Lysianthus. You've got a couple of stems in my bundle. You might have a few more, a few less, but man, we really have some really pretty flowers from Bear Creek in this bundle. Okay, so again, cleaning off the stems, what you might want to do is kind of check. I'm making this just like a flat front, so the back end of this is probably not going to have very much interest because I just want to see it from the front. So you kind of want to check the height in relation to the lip of your vase. You don't want the flowers down in the water or below. So I always try to cut and make it a little bit too tall and then cut again, because you can always cut second time. You can't add the stem back onto the flower. So I'm going to put these guys in There's a nice little stem that has come off the base of this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and just pull it and put that to the side. I'm gonna probably use that in my smaller arrangement. But you still have a ton of flowers. Lisianthus is gorgeous. You might hear some cats in the background fighting. It's that time of day. So, going back in. And it's okay to put it in and then come back out with a few other blooms and then realize like, oh, maybe I didn't want it there. But this is kind of the shape that it's taking right now. And once you add the wax flower in and some of the other thicker stems, if you really want that to stand in one spot, it's okay if it flops over right now. You're gonna come back in. If you have an idea of where you want it, you can always come in and put something else, kind of just fill that space so it'll hold it. So, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna move that out of the way. Okay. Clean off the bottom of that. And then just tucking it in. And I'll turn it to show after these two stems are in. So that's kind of what it's looking like right now. You've got greenery, one stem of Lizzie's, another stem, and a piece of wax flower that's been broken into two pieces to spread out. Okay, so I'm gonna put the wax aside for a little bit and then we'll come back in and add that in. So I think I'm trying to decide if I want, where do we want to put this dude? That guy does not want to stand up. Okay, so I'm thinking we're gonna probably come in and put the Brasilia berry, if that's what it's called. Again, I'm not completely sure. Take that off. If you have a cylinder and your vase doesn't kind of open like a tulip, just play around with it and have fun with proportions. You can make it one way and then a couple of days later you can get a different container if you want to make a tall one first, and then oh, my clippers are not very sharp. You want to take it out and do it all over again and put it in something smaller like a little cylinder. And if some of the flowers are kind of spent, just pull those out. But you've got long-lasting flowers that you can use and reuse in different bouquets, probably for, I'd say probably you've got 7 days worth of enjoyment for these guys. And some of them will last longer. These green ranunculus are so cool. Look like little, they should be edible, like lettuce or something. So I've tucked one in there. I'm gonna come back through. So I like the height of that. It's a little bit funny where it's kind of, you can see the shape of its neck. So I'm probably not gonna cut that one very short at all. Cut that just a teeny bit. And maybe square on's a little bit too perfect. So I'm gonna take it out and readjust it and put it over to the side. So that's what we're looking like so far. We still haven't used any of our Star of Bethlehem. We still have green Lisianthus, and we still have some a daisy or mum and 2 carnations. So next, let's work with the Star of Bethlehem. So they're pretty tall, and I think I want to kind of group them together in a cluster, so when they'll start to open from the base and open up from the bottom to the top. So I think they'll have a nice impact if we put them in all at one grouping. So I'm kind of digging the idea of it being the 3 of them all together over here. And then that leaves us room to kind of tuck in the green Lisianthus, kind of spreading that out, and then maybe figuring out what we're gonna do with these little guys too. And maybe you like the white and green, and you just want this to be a white and green bouquet, and then you can use these sweet little pops of yellow in our smaller one, or we can find a different place in the house to put those. So that's the nice thing about these bouquets. They're large enough that you can kind of divide them up and make them into several different things. Okay, so I'm going to pick my longest stem first, and just taking a tiny bit off the bottom of that. And we're going to put it in over here on the side. And I apologize if this is confusing, that it's like hard to see what I'm doing. I'll turn. Way prettier in the front. Back is not so good, but that's okay. Because that's the look that I wanted, was to be like a bedside table arrangement where maybe you're just focusing on all the flowers facing forward, and you don't have to do like a 360 thing. I don't get to put flowers on my dining room table very often because my cats try to eat them, and it's really annoying. So I usually just make one-sided bouquets that go in our bathroom or our bedroom. Okay, so I have one more of these. See the best place for that little guy to go. It has such a nice texture. You don't really notice it on its own, but it really looks sweet mixed in. So it's probably going to go on this other side, and maybe it'll go down low. So all I did, I just moved out back a little bit and put that down in there. So you want it to kind of be sitting. You don't want it to be up here in front and blocking out the pretty of the Lizzie, but if you put it down there, it has like a nice complement with that texture. Okay, I can stop right there, and I like it. But I do want to incorporate these beautiful greenish, yellowy Lisianthus, and it'll really bring it all together, because that light green in the Star of Bethlehem, and then those little berries. So again, it had a lot of stems. Just pull them apart. So now you have 3. And it's not such a heavy wad of flowers trying to go into one spot. So it's nice when you can break them up. If you have any petals that look brown or bruised, you can just peel those off, pull them off at the base, pinch it off. And Lisianthus have so many layers that even if you pull off a couple of petals, no big deal. So I'm going to tuck this guy in here. Let's see how that looks. Okay. So, man, Vicki at Bear Creek did such a nice job of putting this color palette together for us, because that green and that green is just so perfect together. Okay, so a few more, just a touch of the Lisianthus, and then I think I'm going to be done with this one, because you don't want to overstuff it and the flowers not be able to breathe, and so if they have a little bit of air, they're going to last longer, so they're not so compacted and they won't mildew. So I'm thinking, what am I thinking? Trying to decide which one I want to use. So let's try to tuck this one in right next to that ranunculus. Okay, all right. And if it feels like it's a little too stuffed in, all you have to do is pick up all of the flowers and kind of lift and separate and kind of settle back in. So if you feel like it's gotten too tight in your design, don't be afraid to kind of just lift it all up. Just make sure you've got enough water in there that all the stems are getting a good drink. So I'm gonna put that to the side for now. Pretty happy with it. The placement of this guy, I'm not sure if he needs just to be a little bit shorter, so I'm gonna put him to the side in a minute, and we'll come back to that in a minute and decide. Also, we need to decide if we want to use these carnations in this, and I think we do. So on the carnations, you just kind of want to gently reflex the petals back just a little bit. Give it a nice little smell. They always make me think of my granddad. I don't know why, but I feel like he smelled like carnations, which is a nice smell. Okay, so it feels like this little spot right here has a nice hole that's asking for some color. So we're just gonna kind of see if this will be the right height. We can always cut it down a little bit too. So I think it's a little high. Looks like it's crowding in just a little bit. So I'm just gonna take off a little bit with my snips. You can use scissors if you don't have gardening shears. You can use scissors at home. You can use a pocket knife that's sharp. Don't use a dull knife. Dull knives are so scary. All right, how do we like that? Cute. Okay, and we're gonna come back in. Can't find a spot for that one just yet. But I do think we're gonna go ahead and use carnation in here. Keep it a little bit taller. Okay, so I feel pretty happy with that. So I'm going to put that one to the side and we'll come back to it at the end and just see if there's anything we want to adjust. Okay, so we're going to put that one over to the side. And I'll probably fuss with it for the rest of the day. Okay, so I've kind of made a mess on my work table, so I'm going to take just a minute to clean it off so I can have a better idea of what I have left to work with. And I would suggest you do the same. It's always easier, I think, to design when you have a tidier space. But maybe not. For some people, it's like make a big mess. And it's super fun too. So you do you. I'll do me. You do you. These are only suggestions on what to do with your Bearcreek bouquets from the flower shop. Okay, so I still have some bits in here, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. I have two little girls that are having a quiet time right now. So normally they would be in here wanting to help, and they're really good helpers. A 4-year-old and a 8-year-old. But also these clippers are super powerful, and I would not want my girls using those. But the only reason it's quiet right now is because they're on their tablets, which is totally fine. All right, little guy. So we're gonna just cut the greenery, and it's way too tall. And some of the greenery, like this, is like new growth off of that Nandina, and this might not harden. It might look pretty droopy in a couple of hours, and that's okay. The fun thing about playing with things from your yard is just experiment. And I will say though, if you have cats or dogs, just make sure you look it up online to make sure that you're not bringing anything in that could be toxic for your little furry friends. So I am just taking, I did not leave any privet, and this might be too much greenery. So let's just put that to the side for now. There's not a whole lot of technique or design that's going on in this bouquet right now, but we'll get there. Sometimes you just need some other things in there to hold the stems in place. So I like to think of either a triangle with your stems or just cram it all in there and then eventually it'll hold. So I've got a little bit of the berry left. Just gonna take that foliage off again. A little shortcut, it's not short enough. And really the little guys, they're just have fun. Trust your own natural design instincts and just play around with what you have left. If you want to use some heights with the low, or if you just want to make like a nice little roundy moundy, also really cute. Really, it's just making sure you can get enough flowers in there to hold it all in place. But since we split some of our lisianthus because they were so abundant with their blooms, we've got a lot of really cute flowers to play with. So that's so nice. And you can kind of start seeing it take shape a little bit. Got some greens. It definitely needs more like bulk at the bottom of it to fill it out. So I would say on your wax, if you're using a small container, keep your wax, you don't want to like peel it off into tiny little individual pieces. Just try to clean off the greens. But when you put that in there, it's going to open up and create some, what's the right word? What's the right word? It'll create a little bit of space that's filled up, and then you can kind of use the other branches in there as like a grid system to tuck into. So I'm not using any floral foam or tape, just water and our flowers. And it's so nice to have beautiful things to touch and see and enjoy, regardless of what's going on in our lives, but especially when things are kind of wild and crazy. It's so nice to have beautiful flowers in your home. So I like using the taller the parts of the lisianthus that haven't opened. You can definitely use those in a little bit more of a tall, wispy way. If you've got a stem on there that's the bud has come off, just take it down, clip that off, and then you've got a nice clean stem. A little bit shorter. Okay, so we have a few flowers left. We definitely have spots for them. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna decide for this part, I'm gonna tuck that little mum in right there at the base because it has a broader bloom on it, and I think it'll just anchor that little corner nicely. I typically like to have bigger flowers that are a little bit more substantial feeling at the bottom by the lip of the vase, just so it doesn't feel like it's like gonna fall over. I don't know, it doesn't, so it won't look top heavy, I guess. So thanks for hanging with me. It's looking pretty cute. So it has a similar feel, a little bit high to low. You can kind of see a loose triangle here, very loose. And just keep on turning. If you're making it a 360 bouquet, which this one kind of is turning into more of a all around, just keep on turning it and then find the spot that you like the best and kind of build out the rest of your bouquet with that as the front, but knowing, okay, the back of it's pretty cute too. So if you do change the position of where it is in your house, then you'll be able to enjoy that too. This wax flower is so sweet. The blooms on it are so tiny and cute. And it smells really nice. If you like lemony smells, when you pull the greenery off, take a nice little whiff of it. And that's so one of the cool things I think about with flowers is that it's not just a visual thing, that it's like a multi-sensory experience. And you can have that in your own home, which is awesome. Okay, we're getting there. All right, so I have one more ranunculus. I kind of want to make it a little bit funky and wispy just to kind of highlight all those cool ruffles of texture. So I'm going to stick that guy in there and let him be. Maybe I want it over here. I will, with the Lisianthus, try not to handle the petals of the white especially too much. As I'm like moving it around. If you want to kind of move it aside, try to get down to the base of it to move it over. Just don't want to touch it too much and bruise the petals. Okay, and what else of this? And I've got some wax left over, so I'm just going to go ahead and clean it and tuck it in to the rest of the bouquets. Because you don't want to throw away any pretty flowers. That one is going to go with this guy. Okay, so there is the little one, which you look at that container and think, oh man, that's small. It's not going to really hold very much. But there are quite a few flowers, and this, with the exception of the mom, everything else was pieces that I had pulled off of blooms that were in this bouquet. So it's like a bonus arrangement. So don't feel like you have to use the stems as is. And put that other one up here, and then you can get to work on yours. So this is the colorway that we have available this week at the flower shop from our friends at Bear Creek in Stillwater, and it's like a white and a green palette with a little bit of yellow thrown in. So nice and cheerful. So thanks for tuning in, and hope you have fun with your flowers. See ya!